Right. Hello, good morning, everyone. Hope you can hear me well. Right, so this session is about Bijira, API PaaS for the cloud and AI native era. So this is a new product launch that we are offering under WSO2. So in this session, I will cover the key features and the key things behind this offering and the deployment options and basically how you can get started with Bijira in your API management journey. So let's get started. So right now, if you look at our API management offerings, we have WSO2 API Manager, which is our software version. I'm not going into details of it. We covered these areas in our previous sessions. So the new offering that we have right now for SaaS based solution is the Bijira by WSO2, which is an AI native scalable SaaS API management solution powered by WSO2 API Manager. So let's see why Bijira. So there are two main reasons for introducing Bijira. So far we have been asking the customers, whoever the users looking in for SaaS API management solution to use Choreo for API management, because Choreo is an internal developer platform and it basically provides the API management on top of it. But right now with this solution, we wanted to have a more focused, more fine-grained, more optimized solution for specifically for the API management landscape. So that's one of the reasons we are bringing this. And the second reason here is that with AI coming into the picture, a lot of things are happening around AI, a lot of moving parts around AI, and we have taken these factors into our hands and we want to offer more AI native solution for API management. So that's why we have introduced this new offering so that you have a more AI native API management offering, which can basically take you to the next 5 years or 10 years time. Right, so if you look at a quick overview of what Bijira has to offer, so we have done a lot of user experience where we have introduced a visual mapping UI and where you can map services with the proxies, and then on top of that you can basically apply policies at the resource level or API level likewise. Then we have the unified control plane. I know we have been discussing this unified control plane in different segments, but when it comes to Bijira, you can basically control SaaS data planes as well as your private data planes. So the private data planes are private data planes that have been deployed for a particular customer, particular user likewise. And then as AI for APIs, we have AI-driven design assistant. We have discussed this in labs. I'll talk about this in the coming slides as well. And then we have the testing and also the dev portal theming aspects as well, where we leverage AI and doing things with AI to improve the efficiency. And then we have the APIs for AI, which is we have the AI governance. We basically use AI in the terms of governance to enhance and improve the efficiency as well. And also, when it comes to the API traffic, there are Ingress, egress, and AI traffic. So we have basically considered all these traffic options and we cater those requirements. So I'll cover these in the coming slides. And one of the key things is that the Bijira is built based on Choreo. So we are production ready, and the idea is the runtime is based on Choreo and Ballerina, which is well tested and battle tested one. So, but we are announcing this as a beta in the terms of developer experience, where we want to take some time, get your input, and basically improve the first level user experience. So in the mid-April, we'll be basically announcing this as GA, so you can basically utilize this and do any production deployment. But even today also you can get started, because with this announcement, basically you can deploy your APIs and basically get things moving as well. Right. So if you look at the architecture of Bijira, so the starting from the control plane, that's where you have the ability to create, deploy, test, manage, and observe your APIs. That's where the publisher console is, where you can do all these things. That's where the developers and also the admins come and basically do their relevant tasks. And then we have the authentication and key management. And also we have the developer portal as well, where external consumers can come and discover their APIs and consume those in the applications. And when it comes to the data plane, we have the Ingress gateway and the egress gateway. So the Ingress gateway will handle the traffic coming from external clients to the internal services. Likewise, then the egress will basically handle traffic going from internal services to external APIs. So I'll explain those in the coming slides. So the idea here is that this is based on Choreo. We have the cell-based architecture where you can do the north and south traffic management and east and west traffic management, where you basically connect all your AI services, all your third-party APIs, or any third-party systems. So this is the high-level architecture of Bijira, where you can get more and more. We have a more flexible architecture to cater all your requirements. Right, so let's look at some of the key features that we have to offer in terms of Bijira. Right, so starting with the enhanced user experience, we have the API proxy mapping UI. So basically, as shown in the screen, you can basically create an API proxy from there. Then you have the overview page, which basically have all the things that are related to your API. So we have a single page where you can see all your API requirements. Maybe there are buttons to go and test some of the resources. Likewise, from a single pane, you can get an overview. And on top of that, when you want to develop policies for your proxies, we have a visual editor where you can apply policies per resource and even at per API level. And the other key factor is that we are starting with one single service and a one proxy service. So where you can map from one to one. The idea is to basically expand this to onboard multiple services, as you can see here, and map those resources from one to one in the API proxy that you expose to the external consumers. So that's basically the thinking process and how it will be. Basically, these features will be available soon in Bijira in the coming weeks. And talking about the unified control plane, right now we support controlling the SaaS data planes as well as private data plane. But the idea here is to expand this to support more and more on-prem gateways and also the federated gateways as well. Starting with AWS gateway, you can basically have a central control plane where you have more control, where you can apply more unified policies across the different gateways that you have. And also you can get some insights about how these gateways are behaving. Likewise, you have a more single pane of view for entire data plane deployments that you have from the control plane. And if you look at the deployment option right now, basically you can have data planes deployed in AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. Even you can have on-prem data plane deployments where you can use VMware, Tanzu, Red Hat OpenShift, likewise. So we can basically deploy these data planes and connect this to the control plane, where you can manage all your data planes while you deploy certain proxies to certain deployments. Right, so if we look at the hierarchy, teams, and permission when it comes to Bijira, so you have the root level element called the organization, where you have the org level access management. Then you can create multiple projects based on your requirement. These projects can be based on your department or maybe functional requirements. Likewise, you can create these projects. So the idea here is that you can have the project level access as well. So if you look at the first project here, I would rather call this as a retail project. And then you have the tourism based project, where you have a tourism related APIs. And the last one is about the finance project, where you can have finance related APIs. So the idea here is that you have the environment level access when it comes to all these, and you can promote these APIs from one environment to another one, and from here to the product likewise. And these data planes, basically you can, although we provide one or two default environments, you can add more and more environments based on your requirements and promote your API proxies from one environment to other one. And also these environments can be connected to your private data plane, or even it can that private data plane can be resides in US or maybe EU. Likewise, you can have a separation there. Based on your requirements, you can basically have your environments for EU, US likewise. Right, so if I start with AI for APIs, so we have done few enhancements in terms of productivity for the users. So one is AI-driven support for API specification, generation, and optimization. I think we covered some of these in our sessions, but I'll go through quickly. So if you can provide your use case, it will generate an open API definition, which basically contains all your response request bodies as well as the error codes as well, so that you don't need to do anything new. Basically, you can use the chat to optimize further as well by just giving input. Then it will basically get you a more structured open API for you to get started with. And then we have the natural language based API testing, where if you want to test out the API, you don't need to write test cases or any other cases. You can basically have a natural language query where it will basically execute all your requirements. So in this case, I have asked to add 2 products and list down the products that I have added there. So likewise, you can have the query, natural language query, and do the testing for you. Right, so one of the other aspects that we have when it comes to AI is dev portal theming, where we use AI for dev portals. So if you look at the organizations right now, most of the organizations are having an organization website where they have their color themes, or maybe they have the logos, styling patterns likewise. So with AI, what you can do is that just provide the organization domain, and then AI will extract all your organization colors, fonts, styles that you have applied for your organization, and from there, it will theme the developer portal for you. And on top of that, you can always do the adjustments by just using the UI color palette and apply different colors based on your requirements. So with this, basically, you can improve your productivity and do whatever. You can basically move into production very soon. Right. So if I look at APIs for AI, I think in most of the things we covered this, but I'll go through. Right. So if you look at the organizations right now, most of the organizations have these documents related to secure code guidelines, even the REST API guidelines, how to create an API, what should be the version of the API, and what should be the naming pattern of the API likewise. But I guess nobody ever reads this. Even you have to go and ask the relevant developer to use this pattern likewise. So there is no central control, and that's why we are bringing also the governance into that. And on top of governance, we basically bring AI as well, where you can onboard your existing guidelines or the organization documents which specify your governance rules when it comes to API best practices. You can onboard those documents and create policies when it comes to governance, and then the policies will apply to your APIs in the system. So with automation of these policies, it will detect design flaws and best practices violations, and also it will prevent any vulnerabilities before you deploy. Likewise, you can apply these governance policies at different stage of the life cycle. So you make sure APIs are in compliance mode before you deploy or even before you publish the API to the developer portal for external consumption. So that's about it. And then we have the spectral rules as well, where spectral is a linter rule where you can define your spectral rules and apply the governance for your APIs as well. Right. So if we come to complete control over your traffic, where we talk about Ingress, egress, and API management, I think in Asha's talk, he covered this egress part mainly about taking the restaurant scenario. So in my case, I'll go through this in a high level where, so the ingress is about external client traffic coming from external client application to internal services, this one. And then this is also an ingress traffic. And then we have the egress, which are the traffic going from your services to APIs that you use. It can be your Shopify API, it can be your Salesforce API, or whatever the API that you are using right now. And then we have the AI APIs, where you basically from your services, you basically call these AI services. Some are like the LLM traffic, like OpenAI, Mistral, likewise. So I think based on the discussions that we came across during the con, I would go into details of more about the Ingress gateway and egress gateway. So right now, Ingress and egress are somewhat similar in the deployment pattern, but the idea is you can have a separate gateway for Ingress and separate gateway for egress. So basically, you can isolate this in a way and make sure you have relevant network level policies and you have more control over that. So when it comes to Ingress and egress, the key highlight here is that you have more focused analytics, more focused API policies in terms of ingress and egress. For example, egress is mainly about services connecting to third-party APIs, and in this case, API key would be most ideal in most of the scenarios. So likewise, the UIs can be basically fine-tuned to apply egress and ingress specific rules. So that's the key differentiator here. But in terms of the gateway or the deployment patterns, as I mentioned earlier, you can have two different deployments and have network boundaries so that you make sure only egress does external traffic routing likewise. Right. So when it comes to ingress, in Bijira, you can basically use an API contract or even start with an endpoint, or even you can start from scratch where you define your resources one by one, or you have the option to start with AI-powered design assistant where when you provide your scenario, it will generate an open API for you. Right. So when it comes to egress API management, so we have a marketplace where we basically have a predefined set of API providers. So one of the option is you can select one of these APIs from the marketplace and create an egress API for your requirement. So the other option is, if the API is not there, you can always start from API contract that you have and create an egress API. So when it comes to AI API management, so we support Azure, Mistral, and OpenAI, where you can create these APIs as AI APIs, and you can apply quality of services like security, rate limit, and other mediation things of like that. And if you look at the software version, we have the AI gateway where we have the guardrails, token-based rate limits, and analytics. But right now we don't have those capabilities in Bijira, but we are working towards that to onboard these features in the coming weeks. Right. So one of the key aspects that we have in Bijira is the developer portal. So we have taken a good look at the new developer portal that we have implemented. The idea is to give you a more intuitive developer experience where it simplifies API discoverability and usage and management with a clear and efficient interface for easy access. What that means is that we are trying to make developer portal more customizable, where you have the organization landing pages, where you have the API level landing pages, and also you have basically we have separated some of these pages that we have in the developer portal as technical and business pages, where the business pages can be fully customizable. And also I talked about AI based theming as well. Right. So one of the key aspects when it comes to AI side of things is that right now AI is hitting the ground so hard, and there are so many things happening around agentic AI workflows. So if you're looking into the developing agentic workflows, you need tools. That's where you have agents consuming different tools, such as tools can be one of the tools can be basically read your emails, update, create a email for you, or even retrieve some documents likewise. So the idea here is that all these tools, so if you look at all these things are somewhat API calls. So when it comes to, we can't forget about API management. So that's where things comes in handy, where we can convert APIs into tools, and then in order to convert tool, you basically have to add more metadata, and that metadata will help AI agents to understand how to use tools effectively. And then there will be tool marketplace integrations where the tools will be available for the AI agent developers to come and discover in their agent, AI agent development. And also the MCP is one of the key aspects. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, which is an open protocol which standardizes how applications transform or how applications provide context for agents. So this basically standardizes the way relevant tools can communicate likewise. So the idea here is to have MCP integration within Gateway, so you can basically utilize your existing APIs as tool and use those tools in agent development. Right, so one of the other things that we want to discuss is the API insights. So we can't forget about how analytics in this role. So analytics plays a key role here. If you want to understand how your business is growing, how the APIs are behaving in a particular scenario, you have to make sure your API traffic is well monitored and you basically grab what it has to say. So we provide analytics as well. Right, so you can try Bijira today. Basically, you can sign up and explore more about Bijira. And for more information, visit WSO2.com/Bijira. And if you want to have a demo, we'll do a live demo. If you come to O2 today during the lunchtime, after having some lunch, we can have a discussion about Bijira and do a quick live demo for you. And if you want to do a more into the even after con also, we can basically have a demo, so we can walk through what we have done and you can get an understanding of the features and get more insights regarding Bijira.